Verified. My name is Marko. I'm joined by my co-host Mark, and today we're going to dive into the chaos and the cash of the Club World Cup, the drama of the Gold Cup, and the transfer madness that's really kind of sweeping over Europe. Mark, how's it going?
Excellent, Marco.
Yeah, amazing. So first of all, I think this conversation was long overdue. I think we were talking about it for quite a bit, and I think I kind of hopped the fence back and forth, but. First thing we're going to talk about is the Club World Cup. So Club World Cup, is this a cool innovation or is it Infantino's ATM? Like, is it just a cash grab or is it really something that's interesting? Like, what's your take on that?
So I think it is pretty much a cash grab by FIFA. They're really looking to just make tons of money, promote this sport, grow the fixtures list, which obviously leads to more revenue.
Yeah.
More than anything. I think they also wanted to attack the American market. And so that's why they started this 32 team iteration here.
Right.
To help expand and get more fans on board. It's definitely a cash grab because the payout from this tournament is something ridiculous. I think it's between $1 and $2 billion in payouts.
All the teams involved. Yes, it's insane.
Yeah, so you can just imagine what kind of money they're bringing in to be paying that out.
Yeah, so I keep on Googling this, and every time I Google it, like a few days later, like I'll end up getting a wrong answer. But they said something like Man City is already offered something like $39 million just for participating in the tournament. And then I think, and this is the last time I Googled it, the winner of the tournament can win up to 97 million. I guess that's euro, right? Like it's or dollars, I think. Anyways, but it's just insane the amount of money that they're throwing around. And your point of like the cash grab part of it, like I felt like FIFA was taking a look at the Champions League in Europe, and they said UEFA is making money hand over fist. This is just unreal. How can we jump in, right? So you know what, like it's not the first year of the Club World Cup. This is the first more popular year of the Club World Cup. So this time you're right, they took the 32 team format. They went across, I think there was like 7 leagues all over the world, of which UEFA and CONCACAF and everything are all part of it, right? But that's how they ended up putting it all together. Now at the beginning, I just thought, I'm like, this is just way too much football. And this is why people just get a little bit overwhelmed. That's why you hear a lot of kind of stirrings like in Real Madrid, where they said, you know what, we will not play games within 48 hours of each other. Like, I don't know if you can blame them. Like, there's a whole lot of football being played. So the first off, I said, I'm like, this is a cash grab. Really not worth it. But then I got the chance to actually see European teams take on South American teams. And I don't really get to see that anymore, right? Like, I don't really follow as many South American teams, but being able to see like a Boca Juniors or a Palmeiras or a River Plate, like I thought it was a little bit exciting, right? And I feel like the South American and the European game are just really, really different. And just to see them come together, you know what? I don't know about this every 4 years. I know that, you know what, like, even after a really, really wide Champions League this year, like, was it really necessary? But I found it a little bit interesting. And now that we're actually getting into sort of like the quarterfinals and the semifinal, I think it's going to be a whole lot like tougher, and it's going to be really, really interesting, these games.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like, to hit on the point that you said, I think FIFA wanted to jump the gun.
Yeah.
Because when FIFA first started talking about this, UEFA and CONMEBOL, the South American Federation, they agreed that they would start a new title, and that's the Champions of Europe versus the Champions of South America.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if it's a one-off game or whatever, but it's one of those competitions where it's like 1 or 2 games or 3 games, something like that. And of course, we know that South America and Europe are the 2 titans of football.
Right.
So I think that's why FIFA really wanted to get this done. I think it is beautiful, actually, to see these Brazilian teams, right? Oftentimes we talk about South American football, but many people, let's face it, they don't see it. They don't watch it.
True.
unless you got some Spanish channels showing the Copa Libertadores, which is, I guess, kind of like their Champions League, right?
Right.
Unless you got that, you're not seeing a lot of it. You hear the stories, like you said, River Plate and Boca Juniors and all these Brazilian teams, but it's different to see them compete, and it's not just a friendly. Like, the games matter, right? Now, my changes to this tournament would be this. In some federations, let's face it, you're going to have weak teams. In case in point would be Auckland when they got decimated by Bayern 10-0.
Yeah.
And then people start to laugh and say, what is this?
Mm-hmm.
And then you hear FIFA's mantra, oh, the best teams in the world. These aren't the best teams in the world. Maybe there could be some sort of qualification. I mean, this is being from a selfish footballista who just wants to see games.
Right.
But maybe for the weaker federations, there could be some more qualification.
Yeah. No, I see what you're saying, and I knew it was the whole qualification scheme was a little bit weird, like how Inter Miami actually made it in the tournament.
Yes, yeah,
it was a little bit dicey. I know Infantino wanted to see Messi in the tournament above all else, but they famously kind of dropped the egg last season, and they didn't win the Champions. But I guess they gave it to them based on having the most points in the MLS calendar, which I think a lot of people saw. They smelt the crap there, right? But anyway, have Messi in it. And they made the round of 16, right? So, by all means, that was good too. But honestly, I feel right now with just the remaining teams, it is going to get quite interesting.
Yes.
There is one last team from Saudi Arabia, Al Hilal, in it, and Al Hilal kind of was like, from what I did watch of the Saudi League, the Saudi Pro League, they were a little bit of the class there. I think this is a team that Neymar was on, but he got injured on quite quickly. Right.
And often, yeah.
Yeah, no, right.
He only played a few games.
Yeah. No, and honestly, one of my more favorite kind of midfielders of the time who ended up kind of just taking the cash and running to Al Hilal, which is Sergei Milinkovic-Savic, who plays for Al Hilal. But just to see him again, like on in prime time type of thing, was really, really cool to see. So I don't know. You know what? Let's see how the rest of this plays out. Like, I'm really excited to see games like Inter and Fluminense coming up.
Yes, yeah.
Honestly, Bayern playing Flamengo was, honestly, Bayern won 4-2, but it was a really interesting tie. You know what? Again, I guess it's a European matchup, but Real Madrid and Juventus, I think a lot of people are kind of really looking forward to that. I don't think many people have Juventus coming out of this one successful, but still just being able to see.
Although they've had a great tournament so far.
Yes, 100%. So let other than dropping that game to Man City, I feel like they were in, and you know what, they didn't have that great of a season. So just to kind of really. Get that last little kind of push forward. Plus, I think they have a lot of players that are looking for a job next year. So being able to kind of be showcased for one last time, so that kind of the suitors out there. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later on.
And the game you mentioned coming up, Fluminense and Inter. Yeah, I'm really excited about that because Fluminense are the Copa Libertadores champions. So they're up against the UEFA Champions League runners-up. So that should be really interesting, right? The other thing is, going back to my change, if you could actually have the 32 best teams in this tournament around the globe, again, I don't know how you would get that sort of qualification going or whatever, then I think it would make for a much better tournament.
Yeah. Maybe it's I guess growing pains too. This will turn into something that's a little bit stronger.
I think there will be changes. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if this one really kind of keeps going strong or if it fizzles out. Like, I know, again, we talked about this as well. Just even the ticket problems and lack of interest
right now. But again, the first year, right?
Yeah,
first year of this format. But right now, unfortunately, Marco, it is a cash grab. As a fan, obviously, who just wants to see games, that's selfish. But in terms of player safety, health, it's too much.
Yeah.
You just came off a summer of the European Championship.
Yeah.
Now, that's every 4 years. Then you have this tournament, which is supposed to be every 4 years. And you're going into a World Cup summer next year.
Right.
So I think you were saying off air is that some players are getting like 3 weeks of break.
Yeah. No, and it's true. I don't know. Like, the one person I keep on thinking of is Toni Kroos. Toni Kroos, who retired from Real Madrid last year, retired from the. Well, he played a little bit longer on the national team. He played through the Euro, but just said, we're playing 60+ games, 55+ games a year. This is too much, right? If you're playing at the top of your game, that means that you're playing for a top club. You're playing in Champions League. You're playing like the domestic league. You're playing in Champions League. Then you're getting called for national team duties. Like, you're playing a whole lot of games, 60+ games easily. And you wonder why at 32, a lot of these players are saying, you know what, I think I've had enough. I love this sport. I love playing it, but it's not worth it on my body, right? So,
and even though Jurgen Klopp's team was in the tournament, he was one of the people to criticize it, saying, look at the NBA. In the NBA, players get paid an exorbitant amount of money.
Yeah.
But they're still afforded a 4-month break.
Yes.
And he said, look at a guy like Virgil van Dijk who plays for the national team. He's probably accumulated 4 months of vacation over the last 4 years.
Yeah. There you go. The better you are, the more you play.
Yeah.
Well, so speaking of a lot of football, and I found this really odd that I'm like, well, how is this working out? So we had the CONCACAF Gold Cup going on at the exact same time. So
in the same country too.
At the same time, in the same country.
Yeah.
So CONCACAF is, what would you say, North and Central
Central
American competition.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is happening at the same time that Club World Cup is happening in the US. And I'm just wondering, it's like, a lot of these teams are using the same players. Like, how does this even work? But you know what? It is happening in this world of nonstop football. This is happening. Again, both of us being fans of Canada, we're quite sad that Canada didn't make it. They actually bowed out in penalties, which is horrible. But you know what? Of the 4 games, though, three of them went to pens? Is insane. So we had Honduras over Panama. So Honduras, which is not typically
not as strong as Panama. Panama's been strong lately.
Yeah, from the Central American, you can't sleep on the Central American teams because, again, some of them have been historically strong. Costa Rica, Keylor Navas. So, like, again, you've seen some strong key teams coming out of Central America, but Honduras over Panama, again, good on Honduras, right? That was tough. Costa Rica losing out to the USA. So USA
in penalties.
Yeah. Guatemala taking on Canada. Canada, who was, I think we were ranked 30th in the world through the club rankings, and Guatemala was something like 106. Again, semi-informed, like I'm not 100% sure that was right, but I know Guatemala was ranked really, really low, and you know what? Went to pens and they took them out.
Yeah.
So other than that, the CONCACAF Gold Cup is really, really interesting to watch, just to see a lot of these teams and really how they're able to kind of fare against each other in order to kind of win this. So we were talking about this off air, like none of this has any implications on next year's World Cup because, not for Canada, US, and Mexico anyway, because those 3 as host nations are going to be in. But I guess there is opportunity for seeding and ranking with respect to any other team that might win this one.
Well, yeah, the way I saw it, watching the American games, watching the Canadian games, and even the Mexican games, I felt like because all 3 are already into the World Cup as hosts, that I saw the coaches taking a lot of liberties and experimenting a lot with what they were doing. Because Canada's lineup really didn't vary much from the Copa America, and they played so well in the Copa America. So I thought Jesse Marsh, for example, was really experimenting with some players. Okay, having St. Clair in net when Crépeau was amazing in the Copa America, so I think he wanted to give him some time. A lot of young guys, Jebison playing. So I think they were taking some liberties. Even Pochettino for the Americans.
Right.
The strong stance they had on Pulisic. If he wasn't going to play the 2 friendlies, then he wasn't going to be part of the Gold Cup team. I think that was more like he wanted to experiment with some other players.
Yeah. I thought it might have been a little bit distracting when you heard all the clubs that might be looking at Pochettino come next season. Like even going back to Tottenham, that was quite weird. But again, you know what? Again, a lot of sort of deep quality on the USA teams. So good stuff. So with that said, we're gonna go the last bit of this podcast as we're going through the home stretch. We're going into some confirmed rumors and some some deals that look like they're still kind of stirring and happening. First one I want to take a look at is so Liverpool, your Liverpool team, they had a pretty decent offseason, did they not?
Yeah, so it's been an amazing offseason. I know fans were really disappointed last summer, when we really didn't sign anyone at all. Not signing anyone last year outside of, let's say, Mamardashvili, really seems to have helped Liverpool financially, as well as the unbelievable run they had to win the Premier League. So you saved hundreds of millions last summer. You save money in January. You win the Premier League and you get the massive payout. Liverpool was pretty much flush with cash. So they went after and signed, and it's official and confirmed, I'm happy to say, Florian Wirtz. Okay, is going to be massive for the midfield.
Yeah.
But they also do the smart business of getting Jeremy Frimpong on the right back. He's got speed. He's young. And it's a deal that was about 35 million pounds.
Right.
Which, and he's ranked in the top 5 as a right back, even though he's more of a winger. Been playing winger for a bit, so he'll have to sort of revert back and remember how to play the right back. But that's fine because we got Connor Bradley in that position as well. Signing Frimpong is also crucial for when Mo Salah is gone for the month of January at the African Nations Cup.
Nations, yeah.
Right? So having Frimpong replace Salah on the right, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Then signed Milos Kerkez at the left back. 21 years old, nothing but potential ahead of him. It's very reminiscent of when we signed a young Scotsman in what year was it now? 2017, I believe. A guy by the name of Andy Robertson.
Right.
So it looks like, and they only got him for about 40 mil. So these kind of numbers are rather low when you see how much some other players sign for. Now, the one poor piece of business, I think, was letting Kaiman Keller go for only 18 million. I thought for a keeper, I watch all the games, and every time Alisson Becker was out and Kelleher was in, this guy was unbelievable. There was times when I thought, oh my gosh, this guy's a little bit better than Becker. So for him to go for so low, it just comes as an absolute shock to me.
I think it was when they signed Mamardashvili last year, and then they end up just loaning him back out here. That's what they wanted. They wanted a keeper that's their now keeper and a keeper that they're keeping in their pocket. That can be the keeper of the future. Now with Kelleher, you hear a lot of rumors, especially with Alisson, of him just going to Saudi Arabia at the snap of a finger, right? So I don't know, maybe this was a little bit I like you're right. Like selling Kelleher. I'm like, oh, did that happen to have to happen right now? Like maybe could have happened next year, or maybe Allison leaves and Kelleher
Yeah,
becomes your first. But I guess they're really really deep on Mamardashvili that he could
they
be,
are.
I guess,
Yeah,
the number one in maybe 2 years. I don't know, maybe
yeah,
even a year.
2 years maybe.
Who knows? And I know. So the crazy thing about Liverpool is that they're not done yet, because you've heard all these rumors about Alexander Isak or at least getting somebody in the striker position, right? So whereas 150 million pounds, I think, is a little bit aggressive, especially for a striker, especially for that position. Like I feel like something's going to happen right there. So I don't know. I'm
Flush
really
with the cash. And they said, but their business, like you said, isn't done, and that's not just for signings; that's also for sales. So they've
yeah,
set the price at 65 million euros to Napoli if they want to sign Darwin Nunez.
right,
That would recoup a ton of money that you could put towards a striker.
right. Luis Diaz.
Yeah, there's always the case of Luis Diaz leaving, Jota leaving. Now we hear that Konate is saying that he's not going to renew his contract. He's got a year left, so he could leave for free. And that sparked the rumors of Mark from Crystal Palace, a center back. And Liverpool, you know, because his contract's up in 12 months, his price now is looking at about another 35 million, which is
Right,
low.
right.
And Liverpool's advantage over teams like Arsenal and Newcastle is that they can offer a starting spot. They can move. He's better than Konate. Move Konate to the bench, and that's what Mark wants. He wants starting minutes. He's not going to get that at Arsenal over Saliba and Gabriel.
So that's the thing. So you mentioned like Frimpong, you mentioned Milos Kerkez, and like the lower cost of these backs. I like honestly, my son's a back. I know how important that role is, like especially when they kind of convert in that sort of the win back role where they're playing up and through the mid, all the way up the line too. They don't typically go for as much money, but doesn't mean that they're not as important. Like I know there are national teams out there that would kill for a good left back, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I really do think that these are very important positions, because you're not just the defender; you're somebody that's going to be moving the ball up the field. So honestly, like I think those were great deals. When I do take a look in some about all their spending, I'm surprised for a team like Liverpool. Like again, if this was Chelsea saying that they're spending all this money, you wouldn't even blink. But you're like, yeah, you know what, this team is just ridiculously not you're not you drawing the purse strings. You know what, I think I don't know. Like it is a lot of spending though.
But I also see like a sort of like a theme here. Liverpool, they don't like to sign players or keep players past the age of 30.
Yes.
And think about this team that they're building. Yeah, you still got Salah and Van Dijk on the team, which is great, but recognize they're already passing the torch. Trent's gone. Robertson's probably on his way out this year, if not next. They're replacing them with all these players between the ages of 21 and 24.
Yeah.
And then I think they'll do the same sort of cycle. Let's try and keep these players for about 5-7 years and then start doing it again.
Well, you saw the Champions League final with Inter. Now I think Inter is kind of looking at themselves and saying, like, we have to replace a lot of these 30-year-old players.
They kept them too long. Yeah.
You know what? Honestly, like I said, I've been saying it all season, so I'm not going to go back and back on my word. I'm like, I really do think they have an immensely strong midfield. It was totally exposed for being slow in the Champions League final. There's no question on that. I do think that they were immensely talented, but you're right. It's like sometimes you have to really cycle, and you have to cycle new players in.
Yeah.
While cycling old players out, whether it's a DeMarco, whether it's a Mkhitaryan, whether it's the Çalhanoğlu, right? It is what it is. Anyways, you know what? Let's kind of jump into other transfers. Then you sent me right before the podcast, and I saw this as well, and I was actually pretty interested in. But Paul Pogba going to Liga, going to Marseille. I think he had
going to Monaco.
Monaco. Sorry, I got the wrong end. Interesting. But like again, he had he had
Troubles.
he had trouble. Like so he went back to Juve for a second stint in Juve after his second stint in Manchester United.
Yeah.
It didn't really stick there. He ended up getting injured, and then the drug accusations came out there. So I think he got past those, or at least he kind of cleared up his name a little bit with that. So he's ready to play again. And I think a lot of people were thinking, you know what, Saudi Arabia. This is where his fit was going to be. We've seen him being like an amazing player for both France, Juve the first spell, Manchester United before he really kind of had those injuries and everything like that. But I honestly think this is an interesting move. And in a year where Paris Saint-Germain just won the Champions League, just upping the profile for Liga a little bit, I like it.
Yeah, it'll be nice to see where he's at. We know what kind of player he was in his prime, but that doesn't necessarily guarantee anything. It'll be interesting to see how he teams up with another Monaco signing, former Barca player Ansu Fati, who's also joining Monaco. Pogba's gone through a tough stint. Don't forget there was also the extortion from his brother and his brother's friends and the robbery and stuff like that. So poor guy was thrown into this mix of things by third parties and really sort of crippled his career. So it's just going to be nice to see him back and see what kind of level he's at. Kind of reminds me a bit of his name escapes me.
On the French national team?
No, Italian guy, played for Man City. Womp womp. Who's the black guy who played for
Balotelli?
Balotelli, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see if I can get back now. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like Balotelli, okay? Because Balotelli, to me, I always loved his play. I thought he was really, really talented. Just other things got in the way, right? But Balotelli still, I feel like he still had that quality. Sometimes I think the Italian national team could have probably used him a bit more.
Yeah.
Especially because they needed goals.
Yeah.
But Pogba, different person altogether, but let's see how he comes back.
Yeah, no. Interest in that itself. What I thought was a little bit interesting is Galatasaray getting into the mix. So I think they have a deal for Sané from Bayern. That I don't know if that was confirmed or that was.
It's not official yet, but it looks like it's a free transfer.
Yeah.
Okay, Leroy Sané going to Galatasaray.
Yeah. Ilkay Gundogan as well. Again, being of sort of like a Turkish ancestry, that fitting, or even Ter Stegen from Barcelona. Like I think they're ready to kind of move on this aging keeper. Who I still think he's a class keeper. I think that unfortunately on a national team level, he sprung onto it late, because how can you play behind Manny Neuer, who's probably one of the best keepers of all time? So, but interesting.
Yeah, and I think you're right. They're going to cut ties with Ter Stegen, or maybe not. Maybe let him make that decision, because this young guy, what's his name? Joan Garcia.
Yeah.
By all accounts, he's super young, but he's also super phenomenal. They're calling him one of the top 10 keepers, if not top 5, right now. Right? That's a pretty high accolade to get at such a young age, given that he's a keeper, right?
Okay. Cool.
So, yeah.
Okay, so let's kind of actually wrap this one up. So, what is one transfer rumor out there that you want to see happen, even if it's a long shot?
Oh, for sure, Alexander Isak to Liverpool. It's a long shot. I don't think it's going to happen, to be honest, because of the amount of money involved, regardless if Liverpool has it or not. Yeah.
No, that's interesting. For me, I feel like, and we said this off air, I feel like a lot of these strikers are looking to shift and it just takes one team to open it up a little bit. Like for instance, like you said, Isak going from Newcastle to Liverpool opens up Newcastle and giving them a whole lot more money to sign somebody else from somewhere else, right?
Mhm.
So like I think I want to say I'd love to see that happen as well, just so things can start shifting. Like where does Arsenal pick up one? I know
Yeah.
Palace is looking at two younger players from Juve. The one that I'm interested in that is happening, and this is kind of a switch on both sides. So I'm big on both players, but I'd like to see both Vlahovic leave Juve because I think that it's just not going to happen for him there. And I think the coaches, the managers, sort of not seeing them eye to eye. And I think Vlahovic has been a little bit soft as of late. So maybe him moving out and going to a team, as much as I hate it, it looks like Manchester United looks like they could use that. I know they probably want more of a bankable star or something that's really going to fill the seats. But with that move happening, maybe a Jonathan David sliding into Juventus. I'd like to see both of those happen.
Yeah. I mean, I want to keep talking about this. I'd like to see Osimhen come to the Premier League.
There we go. There we go. Osimhen, that's another point. Yeah.
Maybe he ends up in Newcastle if we get Isak. Or even at Liverpool, I'd be happy with that. One thing that also changes the Isak move is that Newcastle were already preparing in case he left that they wanted to sign Joao Pedro from Brighton. But in uncharacteristic fashion, Chelsea actually just signed Joao Pedro. But this was a quick one. Normally these things take forever. And I feel like this deal happened within a couple of days. And I know you're laughing because Chelsea signs everyone every year.
Everybody every year.
Just yesterday, I think they confirmed they signed Gittins from Dortmund.
Yeah.
But you see the prices that they're spending for these two. And then you see the smart business that Liverpool does, paying 35 and 40.
Yeah.
Whereas these guys are paying 50, 60.
I get it. Okay, cool. So we talked about those. How about the Club World Cup? Who do you see taking this one home?
Whew. What was it? You know what, Marco? Honestly, PSG.
Yeah.
Why not? PSG has been so impressive, not just because it was Liverpool, but from the moment they beat Liverpool and the way they carried through the rest of the Champions League and won that final so convincingly.
Right.
Even to the way they decimated Inter Miami today for nothing. I think that was all in the first half too. So,
yeah. Okay.
I do want to talk about one more thing, and that's Gonzalo Garcia from Real Madrid.
Yeah.
This 21-year-old has stepped out of the Madrid academy to fill in for Kylian Mbappe, who's had some gastroenteritis.
Yeah.
Okay. And this kid is showing the world, I don't think the world knew about this kid. Obviously, the Madristas did. Xabi Alonso did, okay, because he follows the youth team there. And so this kid is really showing how amazing he is. So, yeah, I think he's really helping Madrid. Madrid has a good chance to go far, as always, right?
Let's see what happens there with I don't know. Like another thing that I heard was with Real Madrid is Rodrigo. Just them telling him, it's like, hey, you've really got to show yourself in this competition in order to earn that next transfer, because it looks like they're just getting a little bit too heavy there in the front. So
yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna finish off with my Club World Cup prediction. I think so my heart says Bayern. However, I feel like they are still a few players short. Kane is scoring.
Yeah.
So I do like that. But okay, so I said my heart says Bayern. I think my brain might say Man City though.
Interesting.
Yeah, I like, you know what? I think PSG and Real Madrid, I don't want either of them to win it itself. Although PSG, like again, with that Champions League one, that was just totally deserved. And I think they've had a phenomenal year, and I think they're starting a little bit of a dynasty with the players they have there. But
yeah.
Well, we'll see how this one ends up. Anyway, so that's a wrap on this episode of Semi-Informed Football. You know what? We're here to break down all the fun talk and just kind of get lost in this chatter right here. So thank you so much for listening. Please follow us, like us on your chosen podcast platform. So until next time, keeping you
semi-informed.
Yeah, I had to end that up.